For decades, leaders of America's news publishing industry have gathered to solve many of the same challenges, but often in separate rooms. This September, that's changing. For the first time, two of the industry's most influential and largest organizations are bringing major meetings together in the same week under one roof, creating what some may call one of the most important news gatherings that we've ever had in our industry. Why now? What does this collaboration say about where local news is headed, and what can publishers expect to take home that they won't find anywhere else? Hi, I'm Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P Magazine. This, of course, is E&P Reports, a weekly vodcast series exploring the people, organizations, and issues shaping the evolving news publishing industry. Joining me today are two people helping shape that conversation: Danielle Coffey, President and CEO of News Media Alliance, and of course, Dean Ridings, President and CEO of America's Newspapers. Daniel, Dean, welcome, I should say, back to E&P Reports.
Good to hear.
Thank you.
I got some news for you guys. By the way, Danielle, this is your sixth appearance. I went back and counted. Dean, this is your fifth. Now, you guys ever watch Saturday Night Live? They do this 5 Timers Club with jackets. We can't afford them at E&P. I'm a salesman. I've been trying to find a sponsor, so I used AI. Here's what you will look like in the virtual jackets that we don't have. By the way, you join the likes of Jeff Jarvis, Shannon Kitty, Ryan Dorns, and others. But we're honored to have you here. This is a very, very exciting topic. Tell you what, when we come back, we're going to take a break. Danielle and Dean will explain why two of the industry's largest organizations are joining forces for the first time, where they see the biggest opportunities for local news, how publishers are moving from AI experimentation to real implementation, and what they're asking Congress to do, and why they believe this meeting could reshape how the industry moves forward in the future. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Walter Hussman. Our family has been in the news business for over 100 years. Journalism includes 2 parts: reporting the news and providing opinions. But in recent years, there's been too much opinion appearing in news reporting. This has eroded public trust in news reporting to the lowest level of any U.S. institution. To address this, we started a nonprofit, the Center for Integrity in News Reporting.
The Center for Integrity in News Reporting, CFINR, is on a mission to rebuild public trust in journalism, one newsroom and one classroom at a time. We champion the effort to have news organizations and journalism schools create and prominently display their own clear, concise statements of core journalistic values. Learn more by visiting the Center for Integrity and News Reporting site at cfinr.org.
Hey, Dean, let's start with you. This is the first time America's Newspapers and News Media Alliance have coordinated these meetings. From your perspective, why was now the right time to bring these events together, sir?
Well, we have worked with News Media Alliance on other smaller projects and have had a great relationship with them. We were planning our meeting and felt like it was time to go to Washington. Danielle was planning the fly-in also in Washington, and we have pretty frequent conversations, and we were talking and said, why don't we put these meetings together? And we both looked, we had some challenging logistics, but we were able to work through it, make some changes, and do it for the good of the industry, for the good of our mutual members and our independent members.
Danielle, NMA truly is an advocacy organization. That's what you really do for us. You walk those halls, as you like to say. Dean, you guys do a great job. You're dedicated to bringing leaders together. You help educate, you help inform your group. Danielle, why do you see synergy here and having these organizations work together, especially with the fly-in?
I mean, I think it goes beyond just the types of things that we do. I think it's imperative. I've seen a lot of industries, oil and gas, all these other industries in Washington, D.C. It's so imperative and so important that everybody sticks together as an industry. I think when you have a united voice and you speak with one voice, you have a higher chance of success, of being heard, of being able to get the attention that's needed in a very crowded information space. And while we've had a lot of success in the marketplace and in the courts, and I think that's where we've been having, we've been having very focused strikes to make sure that we get certainty in law, we get good business deals in the marketplace, and I see that going in a positive direction so that we can reinvest in the valuable content that we create for the world and for democracy. We also need to be heard here in DC. And so, yes, we walk the halls of Congress, but when we're all walking the halls together and holding hands and having an impact on their agenda in the way and getting the attention that we need to get around the issues that the market can't solve, that's where we're going to have success. And we all need it. We all need that success. It's not any one segment of our industry that contributes to the information ecosystem that's so important, the healthy information ecosystem right now. We will only be successful if we do it together and if we are united. And while we do this annual fly-in and we're there every day, there's a lot of segments of our industry, and I highly value this segment of our industry that Dean and I both represent, which is our local and independent media and those outlets.
Well, let me stay with you then on the advocacy. I was going to bring this up a little later, but I had some experience with that way back in the 90s when I was president of the Maine Broadcast Association. And we had George Mitchell and Bill Cohen as our senators. They were both very powerful. And the NAB, the broadcast kind of side of what you do, kept flying me in saying to me, they would rather see you than us. But they would wind me up like a doll. I mean, I'd be in their office the day before. Here's who you say. Here's what we're important. And these issues were like way.
Try not to do that.
Retransmission consent. Remember, try to keep it. Be your advertising on the air. All this kind of stuff. Is it? What I'm trying to ask you: how important is it when the warm body from the local market comes in and walks those halls with you? That's my question.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the broadcasters who we're good friends with. We work with whenever it makes sense, and we have a lot of synergies. But the reason why they sent you in is because they were traditionally regulated, because the FCC controlled the airwaves, so they controlled the laws that regulated your industry, and also retransmission consent and must carry were a big thing. And back in the day, we weren't regulated. In fact, we were hands off. Don't touch us. In fact, we were so arm's length that it was not something that was encouraged or expected for people to be in the halls of Congress, because that was almost faux pas, to like the Chinese wall, because we're supposed to cover these lawmakers. And so that is all changed. And the reason why it's changed is because there is so much governance of our industry that impacts our bottom lines, where the government is intervening. And that started with antitrust about 10 years ago, where we were pushing for a law. We got success in the courts. And people have seen the very real impact of what the government does on their bottom line. And that compels people to then get involved to affect that outcome that will very much impact them. That's what's changed, I think, that has made it more like what you experienced in Maine.
All right. So, Dean, let's talk about the Senior Leadership Conference, which you're now moving to DC to be part of this. That is a heritage conference. I mean, I remember when Inland Press used to do this every fall. David Rao, I don't know if you remember him, that Sandusky newspaper was one of my first customers when I was consulting, used to bring me every year to his same suite his grandfather used to have at the Drake. I don't know if you go back that far, Dean, in the industry. This is a real heritage conference, the senior leadership. How is it going to feel now when you bring them into DC and broaden the scope? Is this like expanding? How do you see the mood of this, what you're putting together?
Well, the short answer to that goes back to what you were saying. The Broadcasters Association had you reach out and walk the halls because they know that your relationships were even more effective than theirs as lobbyists, because you had the relationships with the local legislators back in Maine. You knew them, they were your friends, you would see them at lunch. We know the same thing. We know that our members have relationships with their legislators. They know them back in their hometowns and in their communities. But there's real value in being able to walk the halls of Congress and go there to make your presence known and to raise the issues that are so important to our industry. So we thought, let's take the Senior Leadership Conference to DC so our members can walk the halls and make those requests and make sure that it's clear. It's a very important time for the industry. Danielle and I are both concerned about the same issues. There's no division there whatsoever. We want to see changes, particularly as it relates to protecting our content and making sure our members are paid for it. So having our members there in DC just made total sense.
Danielle, AI will certainly be part of the conversation, I assume. From the Alliance's vantage point, where are publishers beginning to move beyond experimentation into implementation, and how are you guys watching that at the NMA?
Well, I'll start with a segue from what you were previously discussing. What we have found is that all of our work on AI, and AI is a complicated issue because it's just been a tidal wave of what do we do with this thing? These machines are crawling our websites. Like, this is not what we do. We create journalism. Like, this is not something that people know what to do with. And so, as you know, we don't just do lobbying and advocacy and legal, we also do education, and we do guidance and recommendations. And this is how you register for your content to be able to sue in the first place, you know? And that requires awareness and gathering. So to riff off of your question around the conference, that awareness and education, what we're finding more and more is we need to have these venues so that our members know how they need to be preparing, what tools they have to empower themselves, educate themselves inside their newsrooms and their businesses to be able to prepare for what's coming so that they know what to do and how to monetize their content with these new technologies. And that's a lot of what we'll be bringing to the conference. And since that's when Dean and I were talking, we can start incorporating a lot of that education and our expertise and our partnerships that we have with a lot of the I don't want to say vendors, but players in this ecosystem, because we work with Cloudflare, Tollbit, Akamai, Fastly, all these partners who are trying to empower us to protect our content so that we can then monetize it through business arrangements, whether individually, like we have 36 of our members have already struck business place deals, and that's growing, individual deals, but then we also have collective licenses, and we've been offering those, litigating so that we have certainty in the law. But at the end of the day, what the market can't solve that we're asking from government during this fly-in is to be able to help us protect against what we call bad bots. And these bad bots, and we just passed a law passed legislation in New York, and there will be a federal version of it that helps us protect against this massive infestation of bots who are coming on our sites just to steal our content.
Right.
They've created this reseller market that's over $1 billion. Some say trillion. We're actually in the process of quantifying it. It's almost like, I don't know if you used, it was in the 90s, tools called it was early 2000s, Napster.
Yeah, of course.
So Napster was a reseller market, ultimately deemed illegal, but it was a reseller market where music was taken and shared. In this context, it's taken and sold, so it's even more enticing for more and more joining every day, this market where you can steal our content and resell it to others. It's called bad bots. They're hurting our websites because our users can't even load their articles. There are more of these bots than there are humans. And if we don't stop them from infesting our website, there are national security implications. Half of them are from China. It'll undermine the marketplace to license in a responsible way. And it will hurt our small and local publications because we just can't handle the network load on our websites. And so Congress is now entertaining the idea of a bad bots bill, just like the New York bill. And that's going to be something that we're pushing for during our fly-in when we have even more people joining us this year, because industry needs government to step in where the market cannot fix the problem.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little, and that's going to be very interesting. I'm sure you'll have sessions, education, and bring those that attend up to speed. But Dean, what other programming do you have planned now? I mean, there's so many challenges facing this battle for sustainability. I know you're putting together the agenda as we speak. Give us the quick elevator pitch on what you're going to be doing in Washington, D.C., besides, of course, the advocacy.
Sure. Well, we're going to kick off the program with a family and independent owners meeting on Sunday afternoon. So those programs typically have very unique programming that's really focused on the independent owner and the family members. Their needs are unique, and some of those programs will focus on succession planning, which is very important to the entire industry, but something that a lot of our members are really facing and trying to figure out how to navigate family dynamics. So that will kick off the program. And then on Tuesday morning, we'll have training and instruction that Danielle's team will put together on how to meet with your legislators. Some people are very familiar with it, but some are less experienced. So she'll do a primer on here's what the ask is, here's how you go in and make the ask. We'll have some sessions that afternoon. And then on Wednesday morning, we will have a big focus on what is unique in Washington. I'm hoping we're going to tap into some of Danielle's contacts and have some special dignitaries come and speak to us Wednesday morning. And there may be even some surprise meetings on Wednesday afternoon. So stay tuned.
And it's going to be an amazing conference, but let's close out above and beyond the conference. I have two of the key leaders of our industry here now. So Danielle, I'll start with you. Dean, you can pose, because it'll be the same question for you. You can think, if you could leave publishers with one message about the future of local news right now, what would that message be? What would that message of hope and optimism be, coming especially from you, the CEO and president of the NMA?
I think that the content, we need to focus on the mission. The content is the mission and what we do and what we contribute to society and to people's everyday lives. That's where we're united. That's where we're aligned, and what's important. And I think society and lawmakers agree that that's valuable. And I think that should remain our focus and our North Star. Getting there requires a sustainable business model, and that is furthered by markets rationalized, like I said, but in many cases, you also need the help of the courts and you need the help of government, and that's where we come in. And doing that in a concerted, united way, like I think we're doing more and more lately, will lead us to a place where we're all successful. And that's the goal, that we are all successful as an entire industry, that we survive and that we thrive. And I believe we can get there, and I see the pathway. And I'm confident we will, and we just all need to stick together.
Dean, you get the final word. Building on what Danielle just said, what gives you the greatest confidence about the future of what we do, the local news ecosystem?
That's easy, Mike. What we do is important. And what I keep telling our members, and I think they know, but sometimes they forget, what they are doing is so important to their communities, to our country, to our very democracy, to our republic. It's critical. I received an email from a reader this morning who was commenting on a column that one of our papers ran that we published last week about the importance of local newspapers and the importance of their place in the fabric of the community. And I think it's important to remember that, because we get so caught up in the operations and trying to figure things out. And it's, like many other businesses, it's a tough business. It takes a lot of work, a lot of creative ideas. But at the end of the day, what we do is so important to the future of our world.
Again, September 27th through 30th in Washington, D.C. You want to attend this conference, you can go to either site, newspapers.org for America's newspapers, newsmediaalliance.org. Is that correct, Danielle? For the NMA. And I want to thank our guest, who I will be seeing on the stages in D.C., because I'll be there too, Danielle Coffey, President and CEO of the News Media Alliance, and Dean Ridings, President and CEO of America's Newspapers. Thanks so much for sharing today, and we'll see you in D.C.